So this is the part of the video where I stare off into space until I figure out what I want to say. Hi. I am someone who is always waiting for my Spotify Wrapped to come out at the end of the year so I can see how unhinged of a Fall Out Boy listener I am. And this year I was thinking it would be really cool if I had a Spotify Wrapped or a Wrapped of some sort of all of the Magic decks I played. Because in the past I have done videos over on TikTok where I've gone through all of my decks and kind of explained the mechanics of all of them. But I haven't done that in a while, and I make and take apart decks at such an extreme rate that it's kind of hard to keep track of everything that I've done and I've made. I'm filming this before 2024 starts. Knowing me, you probably won't see it till after 2024 starts, but it's a wrap on 2023 and kind of a baseline, a place to start for 2024 so I can check in next year and see where I am, like with what decks I have, I suppose, and like what I'm building, what I'm liking, what I'm not liking. So what I did for this was I mainly went off of my magic bag, which is just a bag. It's this big bag. It's got my playmat, which can hold on my tokens. Got some pins on there. I take this to Commander. Well, I should say this is all going to be Commander because that's what I play mainly. My LGS has Commander every Tuesday. That's my main format. So I take this bag everywhere when I play Commander. And so I'm going to be going over the decks in it, plus a couple of decks that I just took out of it because they stayed in there for a lot of 2023, but were just recently removed. Unfortunately, there is limited space in this bag for as big as it is. So I went back to my engineering days and I put together a little spreadsheet of all of the decks that are in the bag currently or were just taken out, because I did say I made space for a brand new deck. This year I played 14 decks. I definitely played more than that, and I took some out, took some apart, like the one I built for MagicCon Las Vegas, my Rowan Scion of War deck is not in here because I've taken it apart. And I guess thinking of myself as a player, I kind of assumed some things about myself. Like if you had asked me, oh, like what colors do you play? What kind of things do you like? I obviously would have said, I love vampires. I love dinosaurs. You guys know this about me. And I probably would have said that blue and black are my favorite colors, which was really interesting when I plugged in all the numbers. So out of the 14 decks that I played, none of them were monocolor. Now I did play Horsemanship, which was a mono blue, but that did get taken out and taken apart. So that would probably be my one monocolor deck of this year. My most played color was actually green, which surprised me because I would probably say that green and red are my lowest played decks. Like out of all my cards, you can't see them, they're down here. I store my cards down here. Red and green actually share a box because I don't tend to really keep those colors because I don't think I play them, but their green showed up in 64% of my decks. The rest of the colors were all actually even. I had one 5-color deck, one Wooburg deck, and no 4 colors. 6 of my decks were 3 colors, and then the rest were 2 colors. But I was surprised that there wasn't more like black, white, blue were the big ones, because that's what maybe those are the ones that I play the most. I guess I don't have an account of like what decks get played the most. Like there are some decks in here that have been here the whole year, but haven't been played all that often. So I also, out of all the 14 decks that I played, right now I have one precon in there, which is the Merfolk from Lost Gatherings of Ixalan. And I have 3 upgraded precons, which was Anaxia, Hand of Erebos, which I actually don't play very much, so I kind of considered not keeping it in. It's a enchantment typal, which I've upgraded with some of my own enchantments, but I don't play it very much, so I'd consider not keeping it. Jared Carthalion, that's my Wooburg deck. It's upgraded, I love it to death, it's so good. And then the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler is the precon, but with some Joyra nonsense in there with stuff with suspend and time counters. Everything else in there was built by me. And out of all of those, 43% of them contain vampires, which I honestly thought would be more, which probably should have been more because like my decks like Marith, Will of the Wild, I know I did have Welcoming Vampire in there, but I took it out to put in another deck, so that should have been one. But I was kind of surprised that there weren't more, but I also had 43% of my decks had dinosaurs in them. I guess I thought would be less, but I guess I've been playing green a lot and dinosaurs always kind of worm their way into green, so not too surprising. I was a high CMC, high mana cost Commander girly, which kind of surprised me because I usually, when I'm like talking about getting started with commanders, suggesting commanders, I'm always like, go for a cheap commander, because once they get out, once someone knocks them back to the command zone a few times, it's going to be so expensive to get them back. So if you start with a cheap guy, then you can just keep playing them. But my highest CMC commander was Gulta and Mavrin at 7. Another thing I kept a record of is all the different themes, or kind of like I call them gimmick, like what's the gimmick of the deck. If like everything surrounds cycling, I'd say cycling is the gimmick. Or if everything is a vampire, I'd say vampire is the gimmick. So you could call it typal, kindred, or maybe like the theme, I don't know, I call it the gimmick. So my most common thing was to do typal or theme decks. So like I have vampires, I have sea monsters, I have, what else is typal? Spiders, yeah, the merfolk precon. I've also, this year, not counted in my data, but I've ran the Eldrazi precon. I played that for a while. Probably the next popular one was +1/+1 counters. I do love a good +1/+1 counter. So I had 2 decks. That was the Goose Mother and Marith, Will of the Wild are both focused on 1/1 counters. I guess you could kind of say tokens a little bit was a big theme for me. What makes tokens? Gulta and Mavrin makes tokens, but that's not the main thing of it. Marith, Will of the Wild is big on tokens and 1/1 counters. You use the 1/1 counters on Marith to make the tokens. The Goose Mother is big with food tokens. She makes them and then you can use them to draw off of her and stuff. So I have a lot of stuff from Lord of the Rings in there to make food tokens and use food tokens. But those were like the main themes overall that I noticed from my Wrapped. So I thought I'd quick go through all the decks that I played, so then I have a list for next year when hopefully I'll be able to do this again. And then maybe I'll have to go back and look at that TikTok I made a few years back and see what decks are the same. I'm guessing the only decks that I have the same from that would have been 1 or 2 years ago would be Edgar, because Edgar is my homeboy. Me and him are tight. I need to decide what decks I'm picking to Commander Night on Tuesday anyway, so I'll show you and let y'all pick for me. First off, I got Edgar and my vampires, which is usually considered too mean, so I usually take it, but I don't play it. I've got Jurassic Park or Marith, Will of the Wild, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot of making tokens and 1/1 counters and stuff. This is where I keep my Vorinclex. I play this a lot. It's not as good as Edgar, but it's probably my second best deck. This is my Hot Boy deck, or the Sea Monsters. I really want this deck to do well, but I just can't get it to pop off, so I keep playing it in the hopes I can figure out what's wrong with it, but I can't, so I do play this a lot. This is my newest deck. If you've been hanging out in the Discord, you've seen me working on this. It's about basically just making a bunch of hamsters and throwing them at people, which is always a good time. This is Spirit Tribal. It's pretty mid, but I don't know, I think it's fun. Not anything too special about it. And this is a spell slinger made with the intention of pissing other people off, so you can guess how much that. So right now my decks are Ellie and Alan Paleontologists, which is my newest deck, and it works really well so far, but I was also playing the 2 games I played with it. I played against a mill deck, which just dumped all my creatures into my graveyard for me to do stuff with, so I don't know if that was just a fluke with that matchup. Obnixilis Captive Kingpin has been really fun. I have a couple cards I need to add to that, but that's just pinging people to death 1 damage at a time. Anaxia, Hand of Erebos. I think this is going to be taken out of my bag soon, because I keep meaning to play it to see if I like it or not, but I never do, so I think I should just... I've got stuff in there like Smothering Tithe and good enchantments that would do well elsewhere. Bruno Stormkirk, I don't play him as much anymore, but I still love him, my big Sea Monsters guy. Jared Carthalion in the Rainbow Sleeves, I call it my Gay Agenda deck. That'll definitely be sticking around. It's a good mid deck, I think. Like, it's not mean, but it's not baseline precon either. It's just like a bump up. I've gotten some wins with it. Jared, Gulta and Mavrin is one of my favorite decks because it's the 2 things that I love, which is vampires and dinosaurs. Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes. I might keep this one. It's okay. It's an okay deck, but I keep it around, I think, mainly for like the sentimental value, because I had a friend that I played with mainly. He was like the only person I played Commander with for a while until I like met a bunch of people, and he would just beat me to death over and over with this one Super Friends deck. So I built Minsc and Boo specifically to spite him, and it works, and he hates it. So I keep it on hand just in case. Hotball the Surging Soul, that's the precon, the Merfolk precon. I think I keep it with me because it's the only precon I haven't taken apart yet. So then we've got Marith. Marith will be sticking around just because I love him. And I think it's funny, there's an infinite combo in there, but I can't remember what it is. So I tell the people that when we like have the, like even when you talk about, I forget what it's called, when you talk about your deck at the beginning of the game, and they're like, oh, what's the power level, how hard are we playing? I'll say, there is an infinite combo, don't know what it is. I think that's funny, so I'll keep it. 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler, I think I'll stick around a little bit. Eventually I'll take it apart, I think, because I want to fill up my Doctor Who binder. Shelob, Child of Ungoliant, will be sticking around because I love that one, and I've not won, but pissed people off multiple times by having multiple cards in my hand that are like prevent all combat damage and then just playing them over and over and over when I should have been done 3 turns ago when they're swinging all out at me, and I just think that's funny. Cormella, Glamour Thief / On Hello the Painter. That's my Spellslinger deck. It doesn't get as much play as it should. I should really play that more, and I have both of those commanders listed because I think it works with both of them. The precon, On Hello is the precon commander, but this isn't the precon. It does have a lot of New Capenna stuff in it, but it's also got a lot of like old stuff with buyback and broken things like that, which works both with On Hello and Cormella, so I keep them both in there. The Goose Mother might be taken apart soon. Then I won't have a Simic deck, so I don't know if I want to build another Simic deck. We'll see. I want to have all of the color combos eventually, so that's my only Simic deck right now, besides the Merfolk. But so we'll see what happens with that, and then Edgar. And Edgar's not going anywhere because I love Edgar. So those are all of my decks from 2023, and going into 2024, that is what is in my magic bag. And I will check back in next year we'll have so many more sets to play with. I'm so excited for the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That's gonna be wild. There's gonna be so much, and I try and build a deck for like every set. So we'll see how many of these cards, these decks stick around and into next December. And until then, I'll see you later.